again, the gang.
I'm Sean Bradeseth, and I've been thinking about Peggy and Christine Smith. Now, I wonder if you've even ever heard their names. If you've never heard their names, they would be very happy with that. That would be exactly what they want. They're actually with the Lord now. They're in heaven. They're no longer on this earth. But they would celebrate that people don't know their names. Now, who were they? Well, they were two very old ladies when they sort of came to prominence in their own community. They were 82 and 84 years old. And one of them was completely blind. And they were, in a very worldly sense, in the way that you would just look at people in the natural. They were unimpressive ladies. They lived small lives, you could say. They hardly left their home. They were too old. And no one would regard them from the outside as being anything special. You wouldn't notice them in particular. But here's what they did. They lived in the north of Scotland. And by the time it was 1949, they were in their 80s. They were that age. And they couldn't do anything any longer. They were virtually immobile, couldn't see well, and they were confined to their homes. But they saw a problem in their community. These groups of islands in the north of Scotland called the Hebrides Islands. And they saw a problem, and their problem was this. They said, where are all the young people in our churches? We know there are young people on these islands, and we're crying out to God for God to do something in the lives of the young people. And they began to pray. And here's what they did. They actually called the local pastor, there was a church building near to their home. They called the local pastor and they said, we're going to be praying every night. They would often pray from 10 o'clock at night till 3 or 4 in the morning. They said, we're going to pray every night. We can't get to you and your leadership team in the church. Won't you gather together in a home or a building and pray, and we'll pray at the same time. And they began to do that, and they would call out to God, saying, God, we need a move of God, a powerful move of God. These two old, unimpressive, severely limited ladies would cry out to God. And what happened at one point was the other group of leaders that were praying concurrently with them, at one point a deacon, he stands in this prayer time and he lifts his hands to God. They read in the Bible, Lord, who can ascend the hill of the Lord? Those who have clean hands and a pure heart. And this deacon stands up and says, God, do I have clean hands? God, do I have a pure heart? And according to those who were there, he falls into a trance. And he encountered God in a radical way. From that moment, on this island, the particular island was called Barvis, in the Hebrides, Lewis Island, Barvis, and these scattering islands in the Hebrides, God began to break out. People would stand in the fields where they were meant to be working on farms. They would just stand there lost in thought about eternity. People would arrive. They later had meetings. People arrived outside the building, got up from their beds in their pajamas in the middle of the night, took chairs with them, and went and sat outside the building. They didn't know why, and it was the middle of the night. And the meetings would be going on inside the building. At one point, 100 young people, they were in a dance hall, drinking, all kinds of things that go on with teenagers. The music stopped. They looked at each other, and they sprinted out of the venue together and ran to the place where the church was meeting. This was a sovereign move of God in the Hebrides. It was 1949, only 73 years ago. Some of the people who were there are still alive. It happened. You can't pretend it didn't happen. You haven't seen much like it actually since then, but it was a pure, sovereign and powerful move of God in this far-flung region of Scotland. People came under conviction. Fishing ships would be off the coast. They would come under the conviction of the Holy Spirit about their own sin, the captains, and they would sail into the shore, and they would go and find the local church. People gathered around the police station. They didn't know why. At the middle of the night, they would gather around the police station. The police captain actually was a strong Christian, and these two old ladies, Peggy and Christine Smith, lived next door to the police station. People would just gather, and God was moving powerfully. People were being born again. It was a powerful, powerful work of God. Well, here's the thing. These ladies, as unimpressive as they were in the natural, as in a sense despised as they would have been to anybody younger than them, or anybody who thinks that older people should go sit in a corner somewhere and just finish their lives. In the Lord, they were spiritual giants. Have a look at this photo. This is a photo of them. It's the only photo I could find on the internet that I've been able to find at all. Peggy and Christine Smith, you can see they're flanking a man called Duncan Campbell, who was a pastor who came to these islands, and virtually as he arrived, the power of God started breaking out. He himself said, I don't want to be known in any way as a man who was a revivalist. God did this sovereignly. But look at these two ladies. Look at them. They have nothing special about them to the eye. They have nothing special about them to commend them to anyone. They were old, and in a sense, they were wasted away. But before God, they were burning for the Lord. They brought people into the kingdom. There are people in heaven right now who are there because these two old ladies prayed. I want to say to you that God is moving on this earth. Will it look like it looked in those islands back then 73 years ago? Well, I don't know. It could, but it doesn't matter. God is moving, however He's moving, through the power encounters, through the work of discipleship, through friendship, through reaching out to others. God is moving. I want to say to you, don't be intimidated by the devil, by your own limitations. Don't be intimidated by the way society looks at you. Pray. Call out to God. I don't want to wait until I'm old and shriveled up and realize I can't do anything else. Well, I might as well pray now. Well, I want to pray now. I want to be found praying now, calling out to God, like these two ladies did. I believe their life still speaks to us even now. And I want to encourage you, pray, pray, pray for God to move powerfully where you live.
The end.